Hey, what is going on, guys? It's the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video to talk about, well, something that has been a topic the past couple of days, and that is the Washington Redskins name possibly being changed. So the Washington Redskins have been in light of controversy because of recent events that have been happening in our world, where things are just being taken down or changed. And this one's probably the littlest of the minimum because it's a sports team. You know what I mean there? Taken down. But nonetheless, it is a very significant discussion for many people. And so people are discussing it, and people are trying to figure out what they're gonna do. And so FedEx, Nike's, FedEx are actually the people that have the stadium rights to Washington for where they play, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna do this anymore. You gotta change the name. Dan Schneider, for years, has, since 2013, I think that's when the appealing process started about the trademark controversy. He appealed that decision, so he's kept the Redskins name. Now, some people have brought this up, that this name controversy just started this decade. No. There was lawsuits that went back to the early 60s, or not early, the late 60s, about the team's controversial name. So this isn't something that just came around for cancel culture. This is something that has been in the works for many decades, but didn't get traction until recently, in this past decade. But the Redskin name has been around since 1933, when they were originally the Boston Redskins. They eventually would move about 15 years later, I think it was. I don't remember the exact year it was, but they moved to Washington, D.C., and they've been there ever since, and they've been the Washington Redskins. The name change is probably inevitable. They've already announced that there is going to be a review of the team's name. So Nikes have taken the stuff off the website, all the merch and stuff like that. So when sponsorships get involved, stuff is going down. There's a lot of billion-dollar interest in this, and that's the bottom dollar when it comes to these football teams these days. So the name's probably being changed. The team name is probably being changed, guys. It's just it's just probably a matter of when at this point, when it's going to get changed. And so I'm 50-50 on the name change, because the team has been this way since 1933. I can understand why people want the name changed, because it does kind of go into a stereotype, but at the same time, from what I've researched, it seems that the logo was actually designed from a Native American. I'm not exactly sure about that, but that's what something that I had heard was brought up. But I can understand kind of why people want this name removed. But at the same time, if we remove this name, does that mean we have to remove the Dallas Cowboys? Because a lot of Cowboys, I mean, not all Cowboys, there were a lot of good Cowboys too, but there were a lot of bad Cowboys that killed a lot of people. Do we have to remove the Dallas Cowboys now next? Or, Pirates? Obviously, Pirates are known for killing people. That was the whole concept, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Oakland Raiders. We're going to get rid of them too, so I'm kind of worried that if we get rid of this name, we're going to start hearing about other names being removed soon too, and that's just not something I want to see. But I don't know. A couple names have been suggested, and some of the names that they should change. I do believe if they do change the name, I do believe they're going to keep the color scheme. Like, I don't think they're getting rid of the color scheme because you can't change the color scheme because the team's been around for since 1933. This isn't a team that was created like 20 years ago or 10 years ago. This team's been around since the 30s. So you can't just change the color scheme. You know what I'm saying? Color scheme's got to stay the same. It's got to be that, maroonish, and gold color that they've been using for years. I'd keep the color scheme. Some of the names that I've heard pigskin, in honor of the hogs, but would you keep the logo that way? You'd have to probably change the logo to something else. I've heard red tails. That would, I think, keep the Indian theme that they're doing, Native American Indian theme, Indian American that they're going for, but they want it to kind of be more of an honor, because the whole point of the Redskins, when they originally made the name, was intended for honoring, Native Americans, Indian Americans. That was kind of the point of it, but obviously it's now seen as offensive to many people, and that's understandable. Some people just think it's a stereotype, and I get it. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of fans that, because they did an interview a couple of years ago or whatever about them changing the name. A lot of the ticket season holders and a lot of people actually didn't want the name changed. And there are some people that are even Native Americans, part Native Americans, that are like, we don't want the name changed. So, it's not every Native American that is offended by it. There are Native Americans that are for the name. But it's a big issue that's now coming to light because of sponsorships. And Dan Schneider said in 2013 he was never going to change the name. However, sponsors talk because it's a $1 billion enterprise. NFL is a $1 billion enterprise. It's the bottom dollar. And when big sponsors, Nikes are the official sponsors for the jerseys for the NFL, and they're not selling them on their website. What's it called? The people that own the stadium rights, they're not going to tolerate it anymore. I mean, they have a contract until 2025 or 2025, but the thing is, in 2025, it's going to be completely different. Like, because they're not going to renew it. FedEx will not renew it, and many of these sponsors are going to be like, no. If they don't change it now, they're going to have to change it in a couple of years, because once they run out of the stadium, then it's like, they're not going to agree to it again unless you change the name again. So there's going to be a lot of discussions. But like I said, technically, I found this, I didn't even realize this, but Washington, they don't physically actually play in D.C. Like, they're, like, right near D.C., but they're, like, in Virginia. They're technically, like, at the border of Virginia and D.C. I'm not exactly sure exactly how far it is from D.C., but from the map, it seems it's very close to D.C., but they actually play in Virginia currently, where the stadium is. That was brought up to me. It's kind of like a New York City, New Jersey type thing with the Jets and the Giants. They're called New York, even though they actually play in New Jersey. They originally did play in New York in their older stadiums, but then they changed, and they moved to New Jersey, but they still are acknowledged as a New York team. It's the same thing here with Washington. They're not, and they're in D.C. too. They're not in the actual state of Washington. Seattle are the only football team that actually plays in the physical state of Washington. Which is much farther away from the nation's capital. But they always say they're from the nation's capital, so, kind of a little falsing advertising there from Washington. But in terms of the name, pigskins, red tails, some people have even said just red. Just red, but that would be kind of weird because it's not actually red. Like the Redskins red is not actually red. It's more of a maroonish red. It's not, you know, it's not an actual physical red color like Kansas City's red. Like Kansas City Chiefs red is actually a bright real red. Washington Redskins, their red is like more of a maroonish red. So I don't know if reds would work. If you're going to keep the jersey color schemes, which I think Schneider is doing, I don't think they're going to change. I don't think they're going to completely rebrand, because they completely rebrand, you're going to lose a lot of the older fans, and stuff like that, and that's going to hurt. We've seen it with the Chargers. When they moved from San Diego to LA, no one supports them in LA, and all the people that did support them are in San Diego. You don't, when you rebrand the team, it's gonna, have a stinker to a lot of the people that have supported the team over the years. So you want to keep it very similar to Redskins, where it's not offensive, and you want to keep the old jerseys. You want to keep the jerseys. It just doesn't say Redskins anymore. You want to keep those old colored schemes. So they're gonna have to do that, and I don't even think they'll have time to change the color schemes of the jerseys anyways, to be honest. But so I think for sure they're keeping the colored schemes. They're going to continue calling the Washington. Some people have said, well, they changed to DC, Washington DC something. I'm like, no, people get mixed up with that, but no, I would still keep it just Washington at this point. You gotta familiarize the audience. If you're changing the team name, you want to familiarize people still that want to support the team, especially people that don't want the name changed. You're gonna have to keep something there, so you're gonna want to keep the colored schemes, and you're gonna want to keep the name, the city name the same, the city/state name the same. So red tails, I wouldn't do red, because again, it's not like a pure red, so I wouldn't do red. A lot of people have been throwing out Warriors, but there's the Golden State Warriors, and I'm pretty sure they have the trademark for sports teams that way. So I don't think that's worked, though. There are other teams like the Giants. Like, I think there's a baseball team that's the Giants, and there's the New York Giants in the NFL. So, but I think that might be because they have a joint trademark. I'm not sure. But I've heard that the Golden State Warriors, they got that, so I don't think they're going to do the Warriors. Red Tails, I've heard that. I think Red Hawks I've heard too, but you already have the Seattle Seahawks, so I wouldn't want to do something that has Hawk in it already. You know what I'm saying? That would be kind of dumb if you have, like, two Hawks in there. So Red Tails to me is one of the ones that I think, there's other ones too that people have suggested, but the other ones I don't like, because a lot of the other ones that are suggested are ones that are completely rebranded. Like Senators, or stuff that really doesn't match the theme of what the team was. Like, the intent of the team was to honor Native American, Indian Americans. So I think they should still try to keep that theme, but come up with something that is not as offensive, or not offensive at all, I should say. In any stereotypes. Something that a name that's more honoring the Native Americans is really what they should be looking for. Keeping the colored schemes, keep the tail, or the feather, they have the feather on the logo, obviously probably get rid of the face, and put something else in there. Like if you go with red tail, maybe you put like a tail, a feather tail in there or something, that's red. I don't know. So I'm just throwing stuff out there, with the maroon colors. Pigskins, because obviously the best years of Washington Redskins football was, during the 80s, and they had the Hogs, the offensive line, that was what they called them, the Hogs. So maybe something like that. But then you would have to put maybe a Hogs on there, which that would kind of probably take away from the Native American theme that they were originally intending. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough one, because I mean, if they come up with a different name that's similar to the Redskins, but doesn't really kind of, it's not really offensive, but then some people will be like, oh, why do you have this name? Because, it's still offensive to the Native Americans, but no one's complaining about the Kansas City Chiefs because obviously the chief is the chief of the tribe, so they don't kind of go after that one, but, they got to come up with something. Maybe the Washington tribe, because Native Americans, back, obviously had tribes. They had tribes, so maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of alternatives that fits with the theme of the team, because I don't want the team to completely change and rebrand to like something completely different, because then it would just ignore the history of the team, because the team's been around since the 30s. If the team was like created 10 years ago, I wouldn't be, as mad or whatever as a complete, rebrand, because it's like, a team's only like 10 years old, but a team that is like, that old, obviously they're not as old as my Green Bay Packers are. The Packers were the oldest team. They didn't join the NFL until 2 years later, after the Bears were created, but technically the Packers are the oldest team overall. But the Redskins are probably either the fifth or fourth oldest team, if I'm not mistaken. So, they have a long history. So I don't want the name to be completely different. I want the name to be in kind of relation to the Native Americans, but not where it's offensive. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at, with me at least. And that's why some of them are kind of more, better choice. Also, some people are kind of worried about whether or not they will be allowed to come with Washington Redskins memorabilia to games still. I don't think you won't be not allowed, because if you aren't allowed, that would be kind of not fair to people that have been buying this merchandise for a long time. Like, people have paid like hundreds of dollars for this merchandise, and obviously a lot of the football teams, that won the Super Bowls in the 80s are going to always be linked to the Washington Redskins team name. You can't just like get rid of that. No matter what the team name will be in 2020 onward, the Redskins will always be, their team name for that history. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just erase that. That's what I also want to bring up too. No matter what happens, no matter what the team name will be in 2020 and going forward, you're never going to erase truly what they were since the 30s. Like, the teams in the 1980s that won the Super Bowls, or, even before the Super Bowl era, because I know they won NFL championships before the Super Bowl era, you're never going to erase the Washington Redskins that won those championships. They will always be that team, no matter what the team name will be going forward. That will always be there. So I hope this doesn't become a thing where if people start going to games and the team name changes, that people won't be able to bring old Redskins memorabilia. Like, if they wear a Washington Redskins jersey, to a game, this year, and the team name is different, are they going to be banned for that, even though they've been ticket season holders for several years? It's like that's another issue that I'm worried about is once the team name is changed, are they gonna not be allowed to wear those jerseys anymore? That they have already. That's gonna be another problem that's gonna have to be brought up. Because I don't feel that would be fair to people that were ticket season holders that now all of a sudden can't wear their old jerseys that they paid for when they were supporting the team. They can't wear their Super Bowl jackets anymore, or their coats or their jerseys, whatever you want to wear. You can't wear them now because the name's now been banned. That's another problem I have with this issue. Yes, the name probably should be removed, but if people want to still come to Washington games and wear the old Redskins jerseys that they already have, or coats they already have, or whatever they have of Washington, the banners or whatever, Super Bowl banners, like they should be still allowed to bring those. So that's going to be another concern going forward that we're going to have to figure out once this name is changed. Again, I'm really hoping that the team name is going to be something close to what they once had. I like I said, I don't want them to 100% rebrand to something completely unrelated and changing the colored scheme. The colored scheme and the team name should have something at least related to the theme of the intent of the team name. Even if it's not Redskins anymore. So let me know what you guys think about this issue. What would your team name suggestion should be? Do you agree? Do you disagree with some of the things I was talking about? Let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the team name issue and where you stand, and or how you would change the name or handle the name change. Would you keep it a relationship where it's not offensive to Native Americans, but still change it to something else? Or would you just try to change it to something completely different that's unrelated? Let me know what you guys think. I'm out of here. Comment, rate, if you like this video, out of this, please subscribe. And that's about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace.